Welcome to our video on astrological gardening, new moon in Capricorn horoscope with astrology, planetary archangels, and zodiac angels to magically help your urban or suburban garden and or agricultural project accomplish success so you can feed your family while creating a healthy community environment. As we continue to enter into the grand solar minimum, it becomes more and more important to be able to harvest food from God's own plentiful earth. Using astrology to increase yield from crops is essential. First, our disclaimer. Watching this video or reading this document is an act of spiritual willpower, and any such action is considered magic. High magic should be used with all mindfulness since powerful forces of manifestation are unleashed. This is intended exclusively for entertainment purposes. I'm Pastor Rosemary, the Astrology Angel. I'm a Rosicrucian seer, biblical astrologer, Christian psychic, and Gnostic mystic. And this is a Readings by Rosemary angelic transmission. A new moon in Capricorn, the goat, gives opportunities for taking on new family businesses and also new responsibilities that will allow demonstrations of possessing excellent talent when it comes to solving some of the problems having to do with both oneself but also with others. So we focus mainly on what you want to deal with yourself, but also you can be of assistance to others as long as it's in a pragmatic fashion, because with Capricorn the goat, that's a time when only pragmatism is essential, and that's the only thing that's going to be paid attention to during this transit, is if you're being practical and if you're being realistic. Now this is going to enable you to sort of be an example to others who look up to the goat regarding how to plan and accomplish goals. Now Capricorn is a sure-footed approach to life, and with I use being the divine tone of the goat, and therefore Luna's dark phase gives this realistic zodiac sign an opportunity for fresh starts for ideas and fresh starts and new beginnings in areas of kind of social standing and fame, and again pragmatic goals. Okay, and pragmatic goals and realistic goals about how to achieve social standing and fame. But this is for Capricorn time during a Capricorn transit really about it being a economic, social or socio-economic standing as well as popularity. So that's what's important during this time and what can be affected during this transit. Now, ambitious creatures should sow seeds of any venture or desire wish to be fulfilled as Luna now begins to wax. Set your sights on charms and spells loved most to bring extraordinary outcomes. Capricorn new moon grants a wealth of new and important duties, especially in regards to self-sustaining systems which have a relevance towards sort of grafting of root vegetables such as carrots, beets, potatoes, turnips, and yams. New moon in Capricorn is a great phase for home gardeners or farmers when it comes to dealing with business aspects and practical application of know-how in regards to dealing with local farmers markets. Taking on new responsibilities with planning and magnifying these types of responsibilities are going to enable for you to manage family edible gardens, or also you can manage neighborhood farms or community agricultural projects. It's a task that's more easily dealt with during this moon phase, during this new moon Capricorn transit. Okay. Now also, these types of tuber crops are terrific sources of starch for nutrition basics when making sure everyone is going to be fed properly. And if that's your goal, then this is what is going to be helpful during this time. Now, proficiency and assurance in self-sustaining nutrition projects are going to flourish when natural 10th house, sort of moon phase or transit is what the new moon is transiting again through the natural 10th house, which is associated with Capricorn the goat. And again, those are attributes of qualities of social standing, socioeconomic standing, and fame or popularity when these are visited during this new moon phase in the sign of the goat. Now, gardeners, both urban and suburban, or farmers, often find great delight from focusing upon their various crops, particularly since growing produce requires a plentiful amount of attention to major weather events. Now, mindful preparation is also important during this time, and also planning and also steadfastness to nature's larger cycles within planetary, lunar, and solar positions in the heavens. Astrological houses and seasonal considerations are all necessary factors regarding essential cultivation of any chosen crops, looking forward to thriving yields. Knowledge about not just how, but what crops to plant, grow, harvest, and store for the benefit for a cornucopia of successful harvesting when under the care and watchful eye of the astrological gardener or farmer. This is a happening in which to interact with elementals, especially the gnomes of earth, because Capricorn the goat is cardinal earth sign, communicating with the undines of water, sylphs of air, and salamanders of fire, coming into effect together with a bountiful amount of fortitude, all working together towards granting a rich and abundant yield. Communicating with the moon during this new moon lunar phase while making sure to use skills learned in regard to astrological planting and harvesting is of significant value, again, during this particular transit of Capricorn the goat. Bring a surplus of affluence and a surplus of wealth, of treasure, into your family and community by sowing seeds and reaping crops, which will produce a profusion of crops for food provisions. It's all about provisions, making sure you can prep and maintain your ability to be self-sustaining. Okay, now such harvest can be shared communally within extended family circles and neighborhoods in a like manner, as well as varietal yields that are also able to be sold at local farmers markets. These concepts are especially important during a grand solar minimum, such as the one in which we now find ourselves. Generally, a new moon with its increasing moonlight is a great time for planting produce such as cruciferous vegetables, asparagus, lettuce, spinach, and those annuals which leaves with the leaves that are growing above ground with seeds outside the crop. Cucumbers are an exception to this rule, since they have seeds inside the produce. Specifically, when Luna visits the zodiac sign of Capricorn the goat, it's an excellent occasion for planting root vegetables or grafting of such. Now, we're going to, again, we're focusing on Capricorn the goat, we're focusing on the new moon. Now we have a crescent moon here because the way you represent Luna in astrology is to use a crescent moon. In some of our other more monthly videos, when we talk about the new moon and the full moon and the eclipses, we use, a circle and that's made black or a circle made white to represent full and new moons. And because we're trying to focus on those events. So we're just telling you how we're focusing here at this time, what we're talking about, and why we're using these particular planetary associations and planetary signs. Now, we're now going to get into we're going to talk about the specific moon cycles. Okay. Grafting of root tuber vegetables such as sweet potatoes, cassava, and parsnips are nourishing selections which are recommended highly and beneficial activities during an occasion of Capricorn's new moon. Remember that Capricorn is a feminine sign, being yin in nature, an earth sign, dry and cold, bestowing feminine qualities of producing good yields. Although dryness is considered a yang and masculine quality, since Capricorn is a cardinal earth sign, dryness is bestowed by Mother Nature during this transit rather than the feminine and yin quality of moistness. Capricorn has a designation of the goat due to its placement on the astrological and agricultural seasonal wheel, where it is considered industrious. Since Capricorn is akin to the natural 10th house of social standing and fame, this is a good occasion to take on new tasks regarding taking leadership and managerial roles in family, neighborhood, and community edible gardening or farming projects. Normally, during a new moon cycle in general we're talking about. Now, we were talking about specifically. Now we're talking about in general. For urban and suburban gardeners, they will prevail, gaining a green thumbs up by planting parsley, celery, broccoli, cabbage, oats, quinoa, millet, wheat, flaxseed, rye, spinach, endive, lettuce, corn, and rice, to name just a few familiar eatables, utilizing annuals which flourish above ground. Now, crops with seeds developed on the outside are best at this portion of lunar phases, because these are, again, it's like a great clock. Astrology is a great clock, just the same as any clock that you use every day. With, the clock with the hands or your watch, same thing. Yes, it's a human representation of nature, but it is useful to humans. Now, a new moon is beginning of a waxing moon from new moon to full moon portion of a lunar cycle. Water in the earth will be pulled up by Luna just like her sway over ocean tides. Although 24 to 48 hours before a full moon is the phase which provides an even larger gravitational effect, a new moon makes abundant water available for growth. So remember that a new moon is the beginning of a waxing moon from new moon to full moon. Okay? Now specifically, during a new moon in the sign of Capricorn the goat, focus on grafting foodstuff types we've mentioned that are tuber root crops such as yams, beets, parsnips, turnips, carrots, and potatoes, which add a lot of vitamins, quite frankly, and also, of course, it's going to add a lot of fiber and starches that are essential for having enough calories for your meals. An urban or suburban gardener ought to wait until a second quarter waxing moon phase in Capricorn to plant tuber root crops or to cut back distressed branches or leaves. Now, please note that 24 to 48 hours before a full moon in the sign of Capricorn the goat is when Luna is waxing quite strongly. And it's an especially good time for the aforementioned planting or trimming of root vegetables like cassava, yam, carrot, potato, parsnip, turnip, and beet crops. Okay? So we're talking about these various phases. Okay, now you will have to wait for a full moon in Capricorn for best occasion to plant root crops of celery root, garlic, onions, ginger, potatoes, beets, carrots, yams, rutabagas, turnips, horseradish, and daikon. Okay, now wait for a mature third quarter or fourth quarter, sort of a waning moon. That's a mature third quarter or fourth quarter waning moon phase in Capricorn to add fertilizer or compost to the soil or to eradicate vermins and insects. Now, planetary archangel Gabriel, who's represented in the Merkaba field by this representation of a Merkaba field, Mer meaning rotating fields of light, and Ka meaning spirit, and Ba meaning soul. This is for Archangel Gabriel. It's for water. Okay, it's a water representation for a Merkaba field. Okay, now that's for Gabriel. That's used for Gabriel. Now Gabriel rules over Luna, although on a new moon expressing receptivity. So remember, that's planetary archangel Gabriel who rules over the moon. Okay, now Capricorn is Saturnine in nature, and therefore influences of planetary archangel Cassiel hold sway during a new moon in Capricorn. Since Saturn rules over this cardinal Earth sign in the zodiac, in the wheel of the zodiac, in the progression of the zodiacal wheel, the goat being the nighttime abode of this authoritative ring planet, with Aquarius being the daytime abode of Saturn. But for the nighttime abode, it's Capricorn is the nighttime abode of Saturn, the ringed planet. Keep in mind that Capricorn is fire of earth, much like a volcano. Okay, and therefore it is important to invoke, call in, invoke, which is call into your sacred space or circle, or call in, call upon. Invoke is to call within yourself. To evoke is to call upon. Let me rephrase that. Yeah, to invoke with an I-N is to call it into yourself or take on a god form. Many actors and actresses do that. That's how they're magicians. They're very psychic themselves. Magicians and actresses, they take on god forms, and actors, they take on god forms. That's invoking. Okay, that's what they're doing. It's magic. So if you're watching any TV program, you're watching people doing magic, you're watching a magic ritual, or any movie. Okay, so when you invoke, you call it into the circle, and when you evoke, you're calling upon. Okay, that's the difference. Okay, so when you're calling upon or invoking these Saturnine zodiacal facets, for this one, it's known as the attribute of God the Lawgiver, found in Genesis chapter 2, verse 16 to 17 in the Douay Rheims Bible. And he commanded him, saying, of every tree of paradise thou shalt eat, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat. For in what day soever thou shalt eat of it, thou shalt die the death. Zodiac Angel Haniel rules over Capricorn, the goat astrology sign. Speaking of the new moon, we turn to Colossians chapter 2, verse 16 in the New Heart English Bible. Therefore, do not let anyone judge you in eating or in drinking or with respect to a feast day or a new moon or a Sabbath day. Information found in this document is based on the oral tradition known as Kabbalah, taught to me by Rosicrucian clergy when I was but a young girl, the facts of which I have committed to memory. Thank you for joining us, and please join us again.